Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. 2 easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got pedal steel guitar, fiddleist, musician, Andrea Whitt. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, my stepson is a musician, and he's one of those that if you give him 20 minutes, it doesn't matter if he's never played the instrument, he can play it. You know, he's really good musician. So I sent him a few of your things, and he was raving about how awesome you were. So he would know. So I take that. Now we'll get there at some point during the podcast, but I want to talk about a little bit about your clothing line too. When I left the house, my wife was shopping on your website.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. She tends to favor the boho type of style.
Nice.
I always tell her, it's the hippie. I like the 70s, so it fits with that style.
It does. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I got my 70s.
I know. I love it.
Just for you.
Do you wear bell bottoms?
All the time. Yes. Yeah, I prefer bell bottoms over skinny jeans.
I'm the same way.
And wide leg. Wide leg is kind of in right now, but I definitely prefer a good flare or boot cut.
Yeah. I've always loved the bell bottoms. I don't know why. Probably because I grew up, and that's what everybody was wearing when I was a kid. So
right,
it's kind of coming back now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it really never left. Like in rock and roll, like
you're right.
Always bell bottoms.
Yeah, you're right. Because other fashions kind of come and go, but you're right. Bell bottoms, they may have not been as mainstream for a while, but
yes.
Yeah, but definitely in the entertainment world and the music world, they've never really left. So let's start this way, Andrea. Tell me a little bit about what got you into music. You know, that's a difficult industry to break into. You know, what got you into it, and how did you take that desire to play and turn it into an actual career?
Oh, well, I started playing when I was 9. Classical music. I started on viola in elementary school. And
that seems like that's a tough one for an elementary school kid to play.
You're right. Yeah, viola is it's a weird instrument to start on, but I was given the option. I had an instructor come to our classroom in 3rd grade and played all the instruments, and I was like, I like the viola. All my friends picked violin or bass because bass seemed really cool. But I just like the tone of that. And so I stuck with it. I was in like an after school program, every day after school while my mom was working full time. So I think I literally just practiced like on my own 3 hours a day, just not even knowing like that was the right thing to do. But I didn't want to be involved in any of the activities that the other kids were doing. I just like sat in a corner and practiced viola every day after school for 3 hours. And then, studied through high school, through college, went to conservatory, and then moved to LA. So, and that was
pretty amazing. You went to, didn't you go to a college in Cincinnati?
Yes. Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. Yep.
Yeah, I'm in West Virginia, just outside of Charleston. So Cincinnati's about a 3-hour drive from here.
Nice. I was born in West Virginia.
No, you were not.
Yes. Wheeling.
Yeah, I've got family in Wheeling. Most of my family, you probably don't know it, but they live about an hour and a half away from Wheeling in a little town called Sistersville in West Virginia.
Oh,
But
what a
Wheeling,
name.
I've got cousins there. I've got younger cousins that still go to school, are in college
Uh-huh.
or high school there. So yeah, I'm very familiar with the Wheeling, St. Clairsville area.
Well, my family, we lived in St. Clairsville for the first 6 years of my life and then moved to Columbus.
I'm gonna fuss at Ben. He should have told me that.
I'm not sure they know I'm from West Virginia. It says it on my passport. So everyone's always very surprised. Like,
Yeah, no, I kind of love that. I've got on our YouTube channel, we have a West Virginia playlist, so I can put you on that now. Yeah, I put
all
people that
right.
have a
Yes.
connection to West Virginia on there, or that were born here.
Love that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very excited because it's anytime I can add somebody to that playlist, I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
When did you well, let me say this. When you're that young, when you're 9, 10 years old and you pick up whatever it is, and that's all you're doing, if it's a sport or an instrument, whatever it is, then chances are that's something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, because that's the age, right? Normally kids try stuff and they move on to the next thing, but if they find that thing that they just love, it may not be a career, but it's something they're probably going to fool with the rest of their lives.
Totally. And I started a little late for a bowed string player. Most of my colleagues who are professionals started at age like 3 to 6. So starting at age 9 is kind of late in the game.
Well, I was going to ask that, but did that help you? Because a lot of kids, when they start that early, they kind of burn out by the time they're a teenager.
That's true. I do have a handful of friends that don't like practicing anymore because they're like, I'm over it. I've reached the point. I work now. It's like, meanwhile, I'm always practicing hours every day. But actually, what's a great advantage to that is like I remember how I was taught. So I remember like the very first beginning steps. So now, I occasionally teach students, younger students, like all the way through adult. I have a 70-year-old student that I teach online. That. And so I remember all the steps of how, the positioning and the technique and how I was taught. So it's more, I can pass it along more easily than if I were like 6, I probably wouldn't have remembered any of that.
When did you pick up the pedal steel? Because I may be wrong, but I haven't seen too many women playing that.
You are absolutely correct. There's like maybe a handful of us that play it professionally that I know of. I picked it up like about 11 years ago. I was in Shania Twain's band. Yeah. And I was hired to play viola and fiddle. And I was in rehearsals and we had a pedal steel player in the band, and I had never seen a pedal steel in person before. And I was just completely intrigued. And I would sit there like, playing my stuff in rehearsal, and all I would do was stare at the pedal steel player.
I mean, did you ever pick up a guitar?
Sorry, I don't want to be creepy, but like this instrument is just, it blew my mind. So I found one off of eBay and I ordered it to my hotel room in Vegas because I was in her band during her first comeback after her 10-year hiatus. And we did a Vegas residency. So we did that for almost 3 years. And I just ordered a pedal steel to my hotel room and I was like, let's go. Let's
love that. I mean, had you ever picked up a guitar and tried to play?
Yeah, actually, you know what? When I was 8, a year before I started viola, I was gifted an acoustic guitar by my grandmother, and I kind of taught myself guitar. My mom bought me this little cassette,
I remember those cassettes.
Yes, and it was like teach yourself like blues guitar or something, and I was obsessed with it. And so I like my birthday party that year when I was 8, like I was just like making all my friends like sing along to these like Yellow Submarine or just like very, very basic songs that I had taught. So guitar is like technically my first instrument, but like once I started with viola, I didn't kind of set that aside. So I mean, if I spent a couple weeks with it, I could bring back the chords and stuff, but honestly, like I I don't actively play guitar at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty sure that we saw you perform in Vegas with Shania, because we went right around that time period and saw her. So I'm sure that you were
Was it at
playing
Caesar's
at
Palace?
theater. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
you saw me.
Yeah.
I was on
I was
stage.
pretty sure when I was reading that, and I was like, oh, I know who that is.
Amazing. Yeah, it's crazy. Like the people I've met that that correlation. I had, real quick off topic, my stepfather had a bone marrow transplant
Yeah.
like 5 years ago. His donor happened to be a huge Shania Twain fan and went to a bunch of my shows. Like it just kind of, that stuff is really cool when you
That is. I
those things
love those
happen.
connections. You know,
Mhm.
the little life connections that you run into just unexpectedly. I've always loved those. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of fun. And well, and I know you did some work with Stevie Wonder. That's one of my favorites.
Yes, I played Muhammad Ali's 80th birthday party in Vegas
Wow.
at MGM, and
Wow.
got to play with Stevie that night. And it was like a little small string section. So but we were kind of the house band for the evening. So
Yeah, yeah.
that was really special.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. We saw him at the little theater they have there at Ohio State. It's been several years ago, but he was about an hour late coming on stage because he was having some stomach trouble,
Oh
and
no.
so we were waiting and waiting and waiting, and he finally comes out. It's about an hour late, and he apologizes for being a little under the weather. Well, he ended up playing, like, we left at midnight and he'd been playing for like 3.5 hours. And I love Stevie Wonder. And I was like, Stevie, it's time to wrap it up. That's enough. It's enough. So we left and he was still going. I have no idea how long he played. I guess he felt kind of bad because he was late. And he was
Oh,
doing Michael Jackson covers and just he was throwing everything out there. It was awesome.
amazing.
What was your first big break? Who did somebody choose you for a tour, or did you perform live by yourself? What was your first big break?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say being in Shania's band,
Yeah, it's a
that
pretty
was
good one.
that was the first, big thing that I had done. I'd done smaller things. Like I'd played with Stevie Wonder before Shania, but a lot of these things as a string player, you're asked to play in like a small orchestra and an
Right.
ensemble, and they're one-off gigs. And yeah, so I've played with a million people, but I never had worked with anyone closely or on a regular basis until Shania Twain. So
Well, how did she find you? Did you have to audition for that, or had she
I
seen you
did
play?
have to audition.
Okay.
So her MD found some videos online of me and some other girls playing and asked us to come in and audition. So
I mean, that's
yeah.
pretty amazing.
And it was funny because I auditioned on viola. And then when I got the gig, I got the call, that music director was like, so you play fiddle too, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course I play fiddle. And I didn't even own a violin. I mean, viola and violin are very similar. So, but I wasn't even versed in fiddle styles. I'd studied classical and jazz in college, and I improvised, but like not in fiddle styles. And I had never really played country music before. So the next day I went out and I bought my first violin and I started taking fiddle lessons. I was like, this is the time to learn, And
Well,
now that's
I
all.
saw you with Blues Traveler doing the Devil Went Down to Georgia, and it was awesome.
Yes.
I was like,
Thank
yep,
you.
yep.
Oh, that was a crazy evening. They had asked me to sit in on another song, and I had prepared that. And so I arrived there, I got there really early. And then I get a text from Chan, the guitarist in the
Yeah.
band. He's like, hey, so we're switching it up. Devil Went Down to Georgia, right? And I'm like, yeah, but like I haven't played that in like, I don't know, 6-7 years live. Like it's kind of, it's like a novelty thing. And I'm like, most of the time I choose not to, but I have done it. And he's like, okay, cool. Like you're gonna play that. Like, and this is
You better
literally
go
like
practice.
an hour and a half before showtime. And like Chan's like, because it was like an LA show. So he's like, I'm on my way there. Yeah, I'll see you there. And like, you'll be great. You'll be great. And so I find like a little room in the theater and to warm up and just review Devil Went Down to Georgia because I haven't like even thought about it in so long.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of like riding a bike. Like once you learn something like that intensely, like it does come back. But I played their version and I was like, well, I need to make sure I know how Blues Traveler plays it. It's literally the fastest version I have ever
I
heard
thought
in
it
my
was
life.
fast too. I was listening. I was like, that's fast.
I was so I'm sitting like trying to like remember all my licks and stuff, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I got to play sit in on the other song, and then we went into Devil Went Down to Georgia. So it all worked out great. Like, but
it
was
sounded
just
awesome.
one of those moments where I'm on stage and I'm like, this is so crazy. And I was literally like laughing, like this is so fast.
Well, most of their songs are fast. They're just like really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they are smoking. And you know what? I listened to them a lot in high school and college. And I'd never seen them live. And I've become friends with Chan Kinchla, and we have like a little trio that we do sometimes in LA when he's in town. But yeah, I'd never seen Blues Traveler live, and I was just like, wow, this band rocks live. Like they're improvising, everything was just amazing. Everyone sounds so good.
I love the bands that are better live than they even sound on recordings, which is rare. Mostly it's the reverse, but there's a few of them out there that, like I saw Dave Matthews Band. I was working for Ticketmaster at the time, and I worked his show. He's an amazing artist, period.
Yeah.
But he's so good in concert that I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed his, just listening to the music.
I agree. Yeah, Dave Matthews Band is really awesome. I'm friends with Jeff Coffin, the saxophone player.
Oh yeah,
I've got to see some of their shows, and yeah, I saw them I saw them in college, but I don't think I appreciated it as much until I saw them recently, like a couple years ago live. Yeah, great show.
I know. He did a guitar battle with Neil Young while I was there. Unbelievable. Just going back and forth, and it was getting harder and harder, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, they bring on some great guests.
I had I just started with Ticketmaster. I was like the assistant. I was running a call center, so I was like the assistant director. And they sent me out to Charlottesville, Virginia for a Dave Matthews show because they needed someone there from the call center. I don't even remember why. But so I get there and they're like, just check in with security when you get there. I was like, okay. So I go to the security area and they're outside, just kind of, it was a outdoor venue. So they're, out around the stage, but they're all standing there and there's a guy talking out to the group and he sees me walking up and he's like, well, all right, this guy from Ticketmaster's here. So I'm just going to turn it over to him. And I had no clue. They wanted me to like help with setting up security. I mean, I'd been on the job for like a week. I had no
I'll be thrown in it sometimes.
I'm like, okay. But like Neil Young did his full show ahead of the concert, just a sound check, but he played the whole set. So I got to sit like front row and it's me and maybe half a dozen people listening to his show. That was awesome. And then I was wandering around before the main show and I came on this little tent that had a buffet line and I'm a young guy. So I was like, free food. I got in line.
Yeah.
So I got, I piled up my plate and I just found the table, sat down and I just started eating. And I look up from eating and I'm looking around the table and it's the Dave Matthews Band sitting there eating and just, before the show. And I just put my head down. I was like, oh man, they're and just tried to listen.
You're working, you're allowed to eat, that's your spot too.
But I always remember that. I was like, I didn't get to work too many shows. That's probably why, but I had the best time.
So fun. It's fun to be backstage with all that energy. I love touring because of that. It's just, yeah,
it's pretty good. Is there an artist out there that you haven't got to work with that you would like to?
Oh my goodness. So many artists that I would love to work with. I mean, Bob Dylan. Gosh, that would be insane.
Ooh.
I know he had a steel and fiddle player for a while, for a long time.
He's got a new movie coming out. I mean, it's about
Yes,
him.
I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. So I listened to Sleepwalk
Yes.
with that, and I was like, I saw it, and it said, it's a version of the 1959 song. So I'm trying to think. I was like, it's like, well, I don't know that song. What is that? Well, it's like literally one note in. I was like, I know that song.
All right, exactly. The famous,
Oh, that song's terrific.
part. Thank
It's
you.
so it's very haunting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, well, you played it beautifully. I never heard it exactly that way, I guess, but it was terrific. Yeah, it was really. Yeah, it kind of surprised me. I was like, of course, I know that song.
Right. I think it's hard to escape that song. I think most everyone in the world has heard that song. I mean, many people don't know the title. But
Well, that's it. That was me. I had no idea what it was called, but I knew it.
Yeah.
So one note, I was like, oh, I know that song.
Yep. Exactly.
Did you I'm probably wrong, so forgive me, but weren't you on the Ellen DeGeneres show at some point?
I was. That was
Been a while.
Yeah. I played that with Harry Connick Jr.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Because I couldn't figure out. I was like, well, because I didn't really watch. I if it was on, I might sit down and watch for a little bit. It was a good show, but I was like, in my head, I was like, I think I've seen her on that show. So I was like, I'm going to ask. But that makes sense. I love Harry Connick, so I was probably watching for him and saw you.
That was a very long time ago.
Yeah, I thought it was. It's been years.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Have you got to do a little bit of that with the talk shows and stuff? Have you got to play or be a guest, sit in or whatever?
Yeah, I've done a decent amount of talk shows. I did. Well, actually, what I really like doing, I did a CMT award show.
Oh, nice.
I love being in the house band for things. I got to play pedal steel and fiddle, and viola. So I got triple scale for playing all the instruments.
I never thought of that. Does it go up when you play more than one instrument?
It does incrementally. Yes, it does go up a little bit with the union. So, get a little bump.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I'd like to see you on Saturday Night Live with somebody.
Oh, that's the ultimate as far as talk shows. Yep. We'll get there.
I talked to the gentleman that ran their house band for years. He's retired now, but he ran it for years. And he got the position. He got hired as an intern when he first moved out there, and he didn't have anywhere to live. And he just snuck into the stage and was living like backstage back there. And there was a executive that worked there, and she would see him when she left work, and he was always there no matter how early she got there the next day. And she thought he was just there working his ass off. And
he was literally living there. Wow. I mean, that's one way to manifest it.
It worked out. He got a career out of it. So tell me about the clothing line. So it's Bohemian Bunny or something, right?
Yeah.
So how did that get started?
I actually, let's see. I mean, I've always been in fashion. I love fashion, and I've always, just been hoarding clothes and interested. And I style myself for everything I do. And I think it's because, actually, I know it's because my grandmother would just take me on these shopping sprees since I was like 5. And I would have matching headbands, matching socks, matching everything was an outfit and like so well put together. Like my mom would say in like parent teacher conferences, my teachers would be like, your daughter is the best dressed student I have ever met. And I took so much pride in it. And it was just like one of those things where it's like when I got to visit with my grandparents, my grandma would take me shopping. and you'd have a whole new like
It never
wardrobe.
got stressful. Like you didn't stress about looking a certain way because you had this reputation of always being well dressed.
No, I mean, it's just no. I was never stressful. No, I
That's
just
awesome.
loved it. I just love fashion. I love art. I love colors, and so it's just an extension of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started the blog Bohemian Bunny, and it was taking I started the blog kind of when the whole influencer thing started, when blogs were really big, kind of right when Instagram hit.
I was gonna say you got
And
in early.
yeah, I did get in early, but of course, like my music career comes first. So, I still do some of that, but my main focus is my music and my art. So I was getting sent like tons and tons of clothing. Like I had to hire an assistant to answer emails for me and people wanting to send me stuff. Cause I'm like, just pick something. I can't even decide. There's so many things coming out right now.
Well, that's not a terrible perk though. Just people sending you clothes.
It's not a bad perk at all. The amount of storage stuff I have in storage in my garage, and I have a storage unit in LA where I keep my road cases, which doubles as clothes storage. It's quite a bit, and it's all super quality clothing, so it's hard. It's kind of hard, I don't know, for me to let some of that go. But I was just like thinking eventually with my whole website, Boho Bunny, and Boho Bunny is, my Instagram and kind of all my other handles as well. Eventually I do want to turn it into like a storefront. And awesome. It's slowly getting there. I do have the shop on there with a lot of my art and my clothing. So
it's a really good website. I was impressed. It was really good.
Thank you. Yeah, so as far as the clothing, I found a pattern maker in downtown LA, and I, designed some really simple kind of like poncho flowy type dresses that, are one size, and just a small run of those. So that's to start. That took a lot of time to like do, and the music career is like so demanding. So it's hard to, keep up with that, but I do have that small line started, and I absolutely would love to continue.
It'd be tough to do especially if you're touring and you're out on the road a lot. I mean, I know you can do it, some of it from a laptop, but it's difficult if your focus is elsewhere and you're trying to make time for something.
Absolutely. You need a team. So Team Bunny is coming. It's on the way.
I always tell
my mom has a bunch of my products in Ohio. So
that's just good parenting.
Yes, she's there to help when there's orders that come in and I can't fulfill them.
So. I always tell my kids, you have to have a guy, or someone. You have to have a person for every task. You got to know, if you can't do it yourself, you got to know who to call, and that's what you need. You need you need a team, but you need some people.
It's getting there. The team is slowly building. Yes, this year's it's been a good year for team building.
I saw you did some work with Kendrick Lamar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I played on To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn. And that is through my friend Kamasi Washington. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kamasi. Yeah. Brilliant jazz saxophone player and composer.
I wasn't aware, but my stepson knew.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He knew.
I mean, anything that Kamasi writes is absolute magic. And so he works closely with Terrace Martin, and Terrace Martin, works with Kendrick Lamar. And so it's kind of the whole scene, Kamasi's friends, the West Coast get down, and Kamasi, like all his friends from high school, they all play together still. So they tour together, which is, it's so cool. So for the past I played on Kamasi's The Epic, his debut album. And since then, he's, kept the same crew of string players to record on anything that he's writing for. So Kamasi arranges and writes string parts for Kendrick's album. So I get called to do those.
I mean, it definitely helps to network.
For sure. Yeah. Those sessions are so magical. Yeah, there's normally a couple Kamasi sessions a year, whether it's for his project or, someone else that he's working closely with.
I'm assuming that you would side with Kendrick in his little battle with Drake.
I honestly, I don't even know what's going on with that.
I don't either, actually. I mean, I'm aware they've got some type of beef going on, but I haven't paid attention to it.
I should look that up. Yeah.
I saw Kendrick in Austin for the ACL festival, Austin City Limits Festival.
Cool.
And Shania was there too for that.
Nice.
Was I don't think that was last year. I think that was year before last for that one. But he was terrific. He was late getting there. His plane got delayed, so it was like a half hour late getting there. But he was awesome. Like I'm pretty sure he stepped off the plane and just onto the stage and just went because he was running behind. But he was so good, talented.
Nice. Yeah, he's
pretty good. You're a Grateful Dead fan.
I am, yes.
Yeah, I was a Jimmy Buffett guy, so I've probably seen Jimmy Buffett in concert 30 times. I loved Buffett. My wife is a Fish fan, so we also see a lot of Fish shows. So I get the kind of that type of atmosphere that the Grateful Dead has. Was it the music or the atmosphere at the shows and stuff that drew you to them?
Definitely the music, because I was first introduced to the Dead. Remember when there was like that CD service where you could order 12 CDs for a penny?
Oh yeah, Columbia House.
Yeah, right. Of course, we all did
that.
So,
still owe them money.
The what?
I said I probably still owe them money.
Totally. So I got let's see, I got Working Man's Dead and Skeletons from the Closet.
Yeah.
And I listened, especially Working Man's Dead, I listened to that CD nonstop. And there's a whole bunch of pedal steel on that CD. And I didn't even know what that instrument was. And so, Jerry played all the pedal steel on that. So I grew up like when I was like 12, 13, throughout high school, listening to those CDs. And so I was just super into the music, and I loved their logos and everything. I hadn't seen a Dead concert. Jerry died when I was 13.
Right.
So, and then I wasn't, I was too young.
Have you got to work with any of the band? Because they're still out there touring.
You know what? I have. About, let's see, 10 years ago, I got to play a couple of songs with Phil Lesh up at Terrapin Crossroads.
Awesome.
Is a club that he owned up there. And then in 2019, I got to tour with Dead & Company. And I had a duo with a friend of mine, and we played Grateful Dead covers as a duo. And we were there with Steve Parrish, who was Jerry Garcia's guitar tech and like best friend. So Steve has a show on Sirius XM, telling stories about the Grateful Dead. Yeah. And so he, in the VIP experience area where people, pay a bunch of money for an early entrance to the show and, the whole VIP thing, there's a little stage set up. And so Steve would tell stories of Grateful Dead times, and Katie and I would, play a song that might correlate to that, or, get up and play a couple of Dead covers. And it was really, really cool. So we did like, I don't know, 8 or 9 shows on that tour in 2019. And so, we'd play our show for an hour, and then, we got to stand side stage and watch Dead & Company every night. So that
I mean, when you were listening to the music when you were younger, was there ever a thought that you might get to play with the band at some point?
No, not at all. You know what? When I was 13, my best friend from middle school, and high school, she reminded me a couple years ago. She's like, do you remember what you said you wanted to do when you grew up, when you were like 12? And I was like, no idea. And she's like, you said you wanted to be in the Smashing Pumpkins, that I was going to play in Smashing Pumpkins, my all-time favorite band. And, so she reminded me of that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like now, and she's like, well, you're basically there. And I'm like, well, but now that you said that, like I have to go play with Smashing Pumpkins.
Well, did you get to play with them?
Well, what's crazy, I was at the Sunset Marquis, which is my favorite hotel in LA. And I go there to hang out and I celebrate birthdays there. And so it was the day after my birthday party this year. I woke up. The only thing I brought to wear to brunch that day was a Smashing Pumpkins t-shirt, like literally triple XL from like a tour a couple years ago. Cowboy hat on, like I typically do, sunglasses, cowboy boots, like the t-shirt's a dress, basically.
You're right.
So I'm at brunch, me and my good friend Shannon, we're chilling there, and I see Gene Simmons like walk through the courtyard to go to the table. I was like, oh shit, there's Gene Simmons. Okay, right on. And I just watch, like, he sits down. I was like, Gene Simmons is sitting next to Billy Corgan. And I'm like, I'm wearing a Smashing Pumpkins t-shirt.
Meant to be.
I lost my mind. And, I'm like a couple mimosas in, so I have a little liquid courage. And right. I like almost start crying at the table. I don't fangirl over, I've worked with so many artists, and we're all just musicians. We're all just nerds at heart, just like playing music and having fun. And so I started freaking out. And I went over there and, I walked up to the table and I was like, I had like a denim duster over, and I was just like, hey, what's up? This is my Smashing Pumpkins t-shirt. And I'm like, I am so sorry to bother you, but can I get a picture? So I got to talk to Billy. We talked about pedal steel, and he had Paul Franklin, an amazing pedal steel player, play on one of his albums. We talked about that. And then I actually just cold emailed his management like a couple days later, and I was like, hey, it's the girl from that met Billy at the Sunset Marquis. And they were like, actually, we were there. It's so great, so great to meet you. And I was like, if he ever wants any strings or pedal steel, so it's out there in the universe. And there's a small connection that has been made. So
I love that. I love that, because it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there like that. And even if you're good at what you do, it still takes a little bit of courage. And it worked out. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm getting closer. I just want to guest with them, like one show.
I have a acting friend, a pretty good friend, and he was a school teacher, but he wanted to get into acting, and he made a little short film that he put on a DVD, and he was he'd been handing that out to different people, just trying to get into the business, but he had no clue how to do it. But he was at a bar, and the guys from Sunny in Philadelphia happened to be at the bar. Nice. And he got his courage up and went over there and gave him his his little CD and or DVD, and then he left. Well, a year and a half later, he gets a call from them, and they had a role for him. And I was like, they watched it and thought he was funny and remembered. And I was like, that right there is the example of why you do it. And I think if you're respectful and kind of cognizant, if you're interrupting a moment that you shouldn't be interrupting, that type of thing, I think most artists, musicians, actors, they get it. They were in the same boat at one point, so they get it, and they're, some of them are open to it. I love that.
Yeah, and I have fans that come up to me, so I'm always, it goes both ways.
You get to pay it forward a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So you're getting ready to go on tour out of country with Moby, is that right?
Yes. I haven't been out of the country since my last world tour with Zucchero.
He's Italian, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a 3-year world tour, 52 countries.
Oh my gosh. Had you ever been out of country ahead of that?
You what?
Had you ever been out of country before that?
I have. Yeah, I've been to Europe. I was in Europe maybe 2 or 3 times before that, but not that extensive.
52 countries. I mean, that's basically Europe.
Europe. We did Australia, New Zealand, some countries in South America.
Well, you were all over. What a fun tour.
We hit Tunisia. We got to Africa. We hit all the continents. Yeah.
That's amazing. So where will you be going with Moby?
With Moby, we have 2 shows in the UK, Manchester, London, Antwerp, Berlin, Dusseldorf, Paris, and we end in Switzerland.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm curious to how Paris is looking after the Olympics. How quickly they get it kind of cleaned up. And
yeah, that's a very good question. I wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder too. What a tour though. How did you get hooked up with Moby?
I performed with Moby for the first time a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And it was in a string quartet setting, and it was for just Deutsche Grammophon was having kind of a showcase for their artists. And Deutsche Grammophon is like the oldest record label, and it's mostly classical music. So Moby's on their label, and it's just a showcase of some of their artists. So from there, then I got asked to do some shows at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. We did 2 shows in May, and that was kind of like he used the band that he's going to be using in Europe. Well, not all of the band, but some of it. So yeah,
you've got to play with them a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing playing those songs.
When you go on tour like that, I know it's exhausting, but how much practicing are you having to do in between shows? Because I know the shows usually come one a day, basically.
You get your practicing in before you tour. So basically you're practicing during the tour is sound check. You might maybe something went awry, like at the beginning of tours, like, some artists be like, okay, this song didn't go like quite as planned last night. Let's run this again. But that's why, I practiced on my own a bunch before rehearsals, and then we have production rehearsals in the UK. And
yeah. So once you're on tour, you're pretty much ready to go. Other than making sure the equipment sounds okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. I always wondered that, because I'm like, when do they sleep?
You sleep on the bus going to the next country. I love it. Oh, it's the best. Touring Europe is so cool, because you go to bed after the show on the bus. I sleep really well on the bus. You're in your little cocoon.
Yeah.
And the bed is always so comfortable. You pull the curtains, all dark, and you wake up and you're in a new city. And a lot of times sound check isn't until the afternoon, so you wake up early. You get to explore, go out, have an espresso somewhere, like have a really good lunch, walk around the city a little bit, and play a show. I mean, it's the dream.
That's amazing. So, that is kind of the dream.
Yeah, it's a big paid vacation at that point. I mean, there's a lot of prep work beforehand, but then once it's all like in motion, it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time with me today. I didn't realize I was a fan of yours, but I'm a big fan of yours.
I appreciate that.
I think I've heard your music on so many different things and just didn't realize that was you playing. But you're so talented.
I was fine there.
Yeah. Do you sing as well? Has anybody ever asked you to sing on a tour?
That's a very good question, because I literally just started. I have a cover of Mele Kalikimaka.
Oh, I listened to that.
Yeah. So I'm singing on that one. That's the first recording. I put that out 2 years ago. It's the first recording I put out with me singing.
Well, you've got a very pretty voice. I didn't realize that was you singing, because I was listening for the instrument. But yeah, that's really
the music video is pretty epic.
I love the video.
It's all animated, and so my friend Darren Nay just killed it on that music video. But yeah, I just started singing live.
Oh,
yes.
So should we expect at some point an album with you singing on it?
Oh, absolutely. The album is coming out probably, definitely within the next year. So I'm going into the studio next week. I'm writing with a good friend of mine, Andrea Cole, who's a great songwriter, great singer. And yeah, the album is going to be super cool. I have a really, cool concept. I'm going to invite all of my friends, everyone who I've ever played with.
Amazing.
All right. It's time I'm pulling in all the favors.
That's right. I'm pulling them all in. Come on.
Yeah.
We're making an album.
Yeah. So that's it. I'm in the process of writing that absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's
And I
terrific.
will be singing on a bunch of it, but I have friends with amazing voices. So
Yeah.
you know, I want.
Well, your connections in the music industry, pretty tough to beat. You know everybody.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, if not, like maybe a degree or two away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. So a couple little things, Andrea, before I let you go. Anything else that you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I mean it's new music that's coming out. Really, that's it. And the music video launch is August 29th for
Ooh.
Sleepwalk. I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but maybe it'll be out by the time.
It'll be out before then. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so Sleepwalk, and then people can keep up with me on tour, on the road. Follow me on Instagram, Boho Bunny with an IE. I'm Bunny with an IE. And
was that because Bunny with a Y was taken, or do you just
absolutely?
Okay.
Yeah. No one's put that account to use at all. But
isn't that frustrating?
I like better.
It's so frustrating when somebody has the name you want to use and they're not using it.
And they're not using it. But it really, I think it sets it apart. I like IE.
I do like IE. When I saw it, I was like, oh, I kind of like that.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good because I don't always like when you change the spellings and stuff. Sometimes I'm like, I prefer the original.
Like leave out all the vowels and stuff. It's like,
yeah, I know. But I like the IE. That was pretty well done. Well, Andrea, open invitation. Maybe you can come back and visit us, before the album comes out or after the
I would love that.
Give us an update.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, it's been so fun. All right, hold on one second. Andrea Whitt, how awesome was she? I'm sure you're like me. You have probably listened to her play on some just amazing songs and with some amazing artists and just didn't realize that it was Andrea. She is unbelievably talented and she's worked with everybody. Go check out Sleepwalk. It's on her YouTube channel. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And if you don't know that song, like I didn't recognize the name, you will know. It's first note she plays, you'll know the song. It's amazing. Her work with Blues Traveler, the Grateful Dead covers, her new stuff, everything is on her website and on her YouTube channel. So definitely check those out. If you're a musician, especially, you're going to appreciate just how good she is at her craft. But if you just love music like I do, you're still going to just absolutely love her. She's amazing. Thank you guys for tuning in with us again this week. Appreciate you being here. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe if you go there. Really helps us out. Our website is meistercon.com. You can find all of our episodes, 823 of them now, audio and video versions on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.